Just because you know the outcome of the thing you're trying to grow would lead to it becoming very visible doesn't mean that when it's not visible yet and you're still growing quietly and not many eyes are on you, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily weathering the storm. And I feel like so much rhetoric online around growing a social media or just doing anything literally for the first time involves this attitude of, well, until, all of these people recognize your work, it's not necessarily worthwhile. Or if you still feel that it's worthwhile, it's embarrassing, it's cringy. I read this really cool Substack article. I think I've read it twice now, but probably sometime like in the past month and then much earlier last year being 2025. And it was talking about how for women, so many of their pursuits are considered embarrassing and cringy. It's very difficult as a woman to do something out loud because you're almost telling the world, I think I deserve better for myself. Being an ambitious woman is telling the world, I think I deserve more. And that's so audacious that it will be met with shame. So a lot of women feel like if they're trying something new, they don't want anyone to find out. If they're posting really vulnerably on TikTok or whatever, they hope no one from their real life sees it. Because unfortunately, maybe strangers will be kind to them, but people from their real life will be thinking like, who does she think she is to think that she deserves attention or that she deserves to try something new? Like the life we all live together here isn't enough for her. And so because of, some of the factors I've explained here, you end up with that attitude of weathering the storm, right? Of, okay, like my thing that I'm doing is still really new. I don't have that many followers yet. I don't have that recognition yet. It's embarrassing or it's embarrassing. So I don't want people to know that this is what I'm doing. I don't want people to see that I have low views. I don't want people to see that sometimes I post and nobody likes it. I don't want people to see that sometimes I'm putting in all this work and it's not being necessarily appreciated in like a visible way that other people can understand yet. And anyways, in this episode, I just wanted to counter that with some of the things I think are so beautiful about growing something new for the first time that you can think about to try to replace any attitudes you have that might reflect the ones I've already described that put you in this place where you're always feeling scared or fearful or embarrassed or uncomfortable with being new and fresh and being a beginner, right? Because we had in episode 9 talked about the importance of giving yourself permission to be a beginner at something. I think for me, when I started my YouTube channel many, many years ago, like in college, my mindset was always, if I help even one person, that's enough. And if that one person is me, great. Like, I really tried to be intentional towards not worrying about who's seeing videos or not seeing videos. I mean, even back then, it wasn't my best medium. I wasn't posting that consistently, but I really had to force myself to think that way because otherwise it can be very scary to put yourself out there and, feel like you're being met with nothing or you're speaking into the void. And so I would put it out there with this attitude of, if this makes someone's day a bit brighter, even if the video is not very serious or teaching them something, if it makes someone laugh, like, I'm glad. And if it makes me laugh, because frankly, I'd be laughing at my own jokes, okay? If it makes me laugh, that's also great. And that's something I still do to this day. So I've recently started slowly posting these full podcast episodes on YouTube. It's funny, I think the other day, right, I was like complaining during an outro about how everyone tells you to make video podcast, and I feel like that's so counterintuitive because hello, podcast is audio. Why would you make a video audio? Like, hello? But anyways, I finally I think I also said this in another episode, but I cracked the code and I figured out a way that I can post videos without doing any work. So it's automated, which is great. But yeah, my face still isn't in them, but you can still find the full episode on YouTube if you like using YouTube. And so I've been posting these little clips, also automated, and then I've been posting, the full episodes up on YouTube. And episode 1 went up, and I kid you not, I think it got 3 views. Which I think the most my YouTube videos have ever gotten is maybe 20,000 views max, maybe 10 or 20,000. For the most part, they hang out under 1,000 views, and this is for full YouTube videos. And then my YouTube shorts would some of them would cross the 1,000 views threshold. But I think objectively, 3 views is very funny. And I think some of the full episodes I posted, because I posted 1 through 3 at this point, of recording this. Literally, I think 2 of those other episodes had 0 views. But yeah, this episode got 3 views. And then yesterday, this lady saw the video and she left this comment talking about how it had touched her and how, she had listened to episode 1 and she was really glad I had posted this episode because she was stepping into a new energy and trying a lot of new things. And it felt like, it was encouraging her to stay in alignment with the things that she dreamed of doing, the dreams that were placed in her heart, which was kind of the heart of the episode that she was listening to, episode 1, where I talk about how a soul who trusts the unknown pulls miracles from thin air. And I thought to myself, because as I was trying to post these videos, I remember not getting the formatting right and being like, oh my gosh, the automation is messing up that I'm using. And then finally I stopped touching it and I just left it. And I thought to myself, if I had taken this video down because I didn't think it was perfect, or if I had taken, this video down because literally nobody watched it, this one lady would not have watched it. And so I was so grateful, and it reminded me about my mantra of if I help even one person, I'm so happy. And frankly, when it comes to social media and even life, you never really know who you're helping just by being you. Helping another person doesn't always mean they asked you for a favor and you did it. Sometimes just by being you, you're inspiring others. Just by showing up and doing the work in your own life, other people are learning from you. Just by sharing your ideas, right? Other people are learning from you. And someone else who recently listened to the podcast was saying, and put it so beautifully, right? We exist as portals to each other. So did I set out when I posted that YouTube, episode clip, or when I made the episode in the first place, did I set out to help this particular person? Did I know they would even come across it? No, but they did. And according to them, their life is better for it. And so that's why it's so beautiful to start something. Even if you feel like nobody's watching, even if the few people that are watching, if they're loving it, who cares who else will watch it, right? Eventually it'll still grow. But I think it's so beautiful to have those intimate connections with people and to really notice every single comment, because there aren't that many comments, and to really sit with that feeling of feedback from people, because again, there isn't that much feedback. Because think about the people who make it, right? Eventually everyone is talking about them all the time, good and bad, right? And so they don't even have a moment to really sit in and absorb all of the good. And then, the bad is really sticking out because you're getting an influx of that as well. So there's so much to be said around having a private endeavor, It's almost like when you discover an artist for the first time, but they're still really underground or they're still really new or whatever, and you feel so excited to be one of their earliest fans because you know this person's going to be successful. And then eventually when they're successful, you're like, oh my gosh, I had great taste. I knew this person before it became mainstream. I personally don't feel that way, because I don't do a lot of necessarily research on music and stuff, and I don't mind if something's mainstream because, hey, if it became mainstream, it's because everybody liked it and they liked it for a reason. But even with YouTubers, that's happened to me, where you find a YouTuber and you're like, these videos are so entertaining and they have so little views. And then one day you look back and that person has millions of followers across platforms now. And you're like, oh my gosh, I knew that person. I think it's a really cool experience. And that's me speaking from the consumer side. So imagine being the consumed. Imagine being the person who other people are really connecting with intimately at the beginning, or other people really enjoy at the beginning, and getting to have that really tight-knit community before it gets not out of hand, but a bit out of hand. And so those are some of the positives. I think there's another one that was really on my mind that I wanted us to talk about too, to kind of negate this reasoning of oh, you should be embarrassed for starting something new, especially if it's not visible yet. Oh, another thing I really love about it is things being incognito. Also, I can give some stories from my personal experience of this, being invisible and then suddenly becoming visible. And another thing to add on to this, and I'm saying this so I don't forget to come back to it, is that my dad was recently talking to me and he was like, yeah, I just met someone and he was with one of his friends. And my dad has been longtime friends with a lot of now really powerful people, but he's just known them his whole career, if that makes sense. And so he comes across someone while he's with one of these friends. And frankly, it's so funny because even I don't know that these people are powerful people and I'm his daughter. but obviously I'm not like necessarily in the loop of like his career field perfectly and stuff. And all of these people are just like my uncles and aunties and whatever, right? Like very good family friends. But anyways, he comes across somebody who's seeing him with this like quote unquote powerful person to that person, right? But to my dad, it's his like really, really good friend. And this person starts name dropping like crazy. And it's just very clear that like they're trying to impress, you know, the person that they see as powerful, which is the person with my dad. And then it's so funny, they're then like almost trying to like introduce the quote unquote powerful person to my dad. But it's like, bro, my dad is in his pajamas next to this person. Like you would know, like you would think that, you know, like that they're good friends. Like he already knows him, obviously. You're seeing, anyway, maybe I'm not explaining this well because I'm trying not to say too much. And I know my dad's a private person. But my point with this is more so after this interaction, my dad came to me and he was like, this just happened to me, where this person just started name dropping like crazy. And it was clearly, you know, influenced by the person he was standing next to. And he was just thinking how it was so funny that they felt the need to do that, because like for him, he's known this person his like most of his adult life. And before they became special in the eyes of others, they were a person, just like everybody else's person. Just like, they're just a person. But now that they have visibility, all of a sudden they've moved into this new category as if they weren't always special. And this isn't me saying like, oh, this person wasn't that special, I don't know why they see them that way, because that's not at all how I act, how my dad feels about anything, nothing like that. But it just goes to show you the vanity, right? Because the same very now successful person and special person and talented person has been that way all along. And yet, because nobody else saw it or was appreciating it in public forums, those same people that you are like, you know, praising and all of that, they could have been dealing with stuff in their intimate lives that kind of made them feel like a loser, when in reality they were a quote unquote winner the whole time. It's just that nobody else had appreciated it yet. And you'll see that all the time, where they then go on to make media of any kind, and they'll reference that experience of, yeah, I used to be the loser. People used to hate on me. Like, they didn't really fuck with me way back then. But how about now? Type energy of like people switching up. And it's like, yeah, because they didn't look at you with any humanity until you were recognized by others. But what that goes to show you is that you are so special just as you are right now. You are so special. You are so worthwhile. Your dreams are worth being chased, and your tenacity and your willingness to chase them is a beautiful strength of yours. And you should never give that up just because other people haven't recognized it in a highly visible way. Because if you do, then you'll never become visible, even if that's your goal. And if people are trying to make you feel invisible or feel bad for being invisible right now, like, ignore them, because they're the same people that are going to switch up the second you start, you know, getting the recognition that you deserve. But even beyond that, like, it's not about recognition. The art, like doing the art is the best part. Once it's finished, all you can do is look at it and admire it and all of that. But the creation of the art, like the creation of a painting, the creation of putting brushstrokes on the canvas, the creation of selecting what color to use next, the creation of blending colors together, the creation of fusing your life together into this beautiful masterpiece, like, that's your life. That's everything. And to throw away absorbing and enjoying all of those moments, even the parts where you're not clear where you're going with things, even the parts that get muddied that you have to adjust later, when you ignore, you know, appreciating that because it's not finished, because no one's looking at it, like, it's so sad, because once it's finished, it's finished. Like, if your whole life is all about an end goal, and you say that you're not going to be happy until everyone can see that you've achieved something, then you could wait your whole life for someone to then see that before you give yourself, you know, permission to be happy. When really, at that point, your life is over. All that's left is to admire, right? All that's left is to then criticize, right? Because now they can see it. It's finished. So now you have all these naysayers coming in saying, oh, she's overrated or this or that, right? Think about Beyonce's experience, but whatever. Beyonce's a litmus test. That's a separate issue. Let's not get into it before I get heated. But it's like, yeah, at that point, when the masterpiece is complete, all that's left to do is either ogle, appreciate, admire, or criticize. And that also creates distance between you and your community, right? There's a difference between the kinds of people you invite to a gallery showing, right, when your pieces are done, and the people you invite into your studio, right, when your art isn't finished yet, because it's much more vulnerable to let people see the process, especially because you might not be happy with what stage you're at in the process. So imagine the kind of community and bonding you have with those people that were let in on the show earlier than the people that see the show when it's all complete and final. There's a distance to it. And I think that's what makes it so exciting to grow your community from scratch and to enjoy the process of growing it, even if it's really, really small. And like, I just celebrated my 11th subscriber with my 11th subscriber. And it's a special moment because every subscriber means so much to me right now. And it'll continue to, but like, it means so much more right now, knowing that like, they don't have to do that. Nobody is hyping it up. Like, if you're finding it and taking the time to listen to it, it just feels extra special because it's not coming with all of this razzle dazzle that'll make you want to click, 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 right? Everything is basically just word of mouth or purely on quality, right? It's the same way where like a musician who already is huge, because everyone else is hyping them up, you are probably going to listen to at least one of their songs, or one of their songs will be forced upon your ears on the radio. And then at that moment, you'll decide if you like them or not like them. But I think it's such a different experience to decide to like something that you're not being influenced to like, if that makes sense. Okay, so I went off on a few tangents there, but I'm glad because they definitely continue to contribute to this idea we're discussing in this episode. But I want to go back to also the one I had at the beginning of the episode that even made me want to record. Oh, I was saying how we talk about the power and the enjoyment of being incognito. Because like right now, right, I'm making these episodes and I make them for myself. They'll probably always be for myself. This idea of like, I always used to post on my Instagram stories, and that's where people started encouraging me to make a podcast, because before that I'd never really considered one, but that was years ago, and still to the present day, but way more years ago, because I kind of stopped doing it as much. But back when I used to post on my stories a lot, it's just because I had a lot of thoughts, I had a lot of opinions, and I would just post these really long rants. And at first I thought I was just speaking into the void, because I wasn't posting it because I wanted anyone to see it or cared what anyone thought about it. I just thought, these are my thoughts and I'm sharing them and whatever. And then before I knew it, I had this like very captive audience of people around me who were responding all the time and had ideas to build off of my ideas, or they'd come to me and say, oh, I'm struggling with this, with my mental health, and I'm glad you're vulnerable, and could I talk to you about this? And so it stopped being just about me. And I think that's why in these episodes, even when I'm called to say something as a reminder to myself or to help myself work through something, I realize that me doing the work, like I said earlier, me showing up for myself is a way I can also show up for another person if they need that mindset reset as well, if they need that hand-holding through an idea as well. And that's why I click record and post. But there is something really beautiful about being incognito. Like even back then, I was posting into the void. Like posting into the void is kind of fun because you don't have to police yourself. You don't have to worry about, oh, if I post this, it'll be too much. I have a lot of eyes on me all of a sudden. Because again, you're incognito. Like right now, this will be episode 13. And at this point, I have 12 subscribers now. And it's like, yes, like it matters what I post. I'm not going to post poor quality anything just because not many people are watching me. But at the same time, it's like there's literally zero pressure whatsoever around expectations for this podcast, what people expect to hear from me for this podcast. It's still so new and it's still so fully directed by my desires and not necessarily by my community's desires. Like, for example, right, I always give the offer of like, yeah, if you have ideas of what you want me to talk about, or if you have questions about your own life, like happy to do that. But I don't get any of those really, right? I don't get too much of that yet. And because of that, I still get to self-direct what you guys hear. And it's kind of exciting to be in that mode where like, I can try anything. I can say anything, any idea that I feel like is interesting, I can click record because I'm still in that shaping mode of figuring out what this is. And that's fun. There's no pressure. There's no getting it wrong or right. Maybe no one sees it at all. So if that's the case, like who cares? And the lack of pressure, I think, is something that we also don't appreciate because we feel like we're just so worried about, or when I say we, right, I mean the collective. But so many people are like, oh, I wish like this was getting views, or I wish this would blow up. But like, you can't control that. And because you can't control that, like, why worry about it? Right? Why worry about things outside of your control? What's in your control is right now you have the freedom to say and do whatever you want and try whatever you want because you're a beginner, and you have the freedom to fail woefully if you so choose, right? Because if I post a podcast episode right now that's very out of left field and it flops, like, I don't think that would cause, most of my 12 subscribers to like disappear, right? But if you post something huge that flops when you have, 1,000,000 followers or whatever, and people are guaranteed to see it, there might be actual consequences from posting rubbish that you would feel or that might hurt your pockets or whatever, this or that, and I'm just giving examples, right? But ultimately my point is, like, enjoy the fact that there's no pressure. Stop worrying about, oh my gosh, no one's seeing this, and be like, oh my God, no one's seeing this. Like, it's the difference between like nothing matters and nothing matters. Like, literally, if nothing matters, then do whatever you want, right? But before, it's if you say like, oh, nothing matters, like, why should I even bother, blah, blah, blah. You're saying the exact same sentence, nothing matters, but in one version, you're just like, let me not try, let me not pursue anything. It's inconsequential. Life is inconsequential. Sure. That's a completely different takeaway than nothing matters, girl. Like, let's go to brunch, or like, let's go skinny dipping, or like, let's move across the earth. Like, let's go, manage a hostel and like mop floors in a hostel so we can live in South America. Literally, like, nothing matters. So like, have a good time, turn up, And so being incognito, being small, having a small, intimate community, having no eyes on you that expect a certain thing because literally something is so fresh. Anything you deliver, like, you'll be learning, your audience will be learning with you. You'll be learning yourself. You'll be learning what you enjoy. You'll be learning how you show up. Even if you become like right now, let's move it away from social media. You decide right now to pick up a hobby related to art. When you begin, like, you can do anything. Do you want to be a cartoonist? Do you want to do watercolor? Do you want to do acrylic? Do you want to do oil painting? Do you want to do portraiture? Do you want to do abstraction? Do you want to do a mix of the two? Do you want to do hyperrealism? Do you want to do still lives? Do you want to do landscapes? A million things that you could do. Do you want to do line art? Do you want to do patterns? Do you want to do graphic art? Do you want to do digital art? There's a million things you can do, and no one expects anything from you because you're a beginner. You just started out. No one knows who you are. No one knows your name. No one thinks like this artist does this kind of art. You don't have the pressure of that association. And because you don't have that pressure, who cares, right? You can try every single one of those things, document it, show it to people, whatever, and then eventually settle into your groove, or decide never to settle into your groove. But ultimately, you benefit from the fact that nobody knows and nobody cares. And like, I say this all the time, nobody cares, because I think sometimes we become so centered in our own lives. And because we center ourselves in our own lives, we forget that other people do that too. Like, you're not the main character in other people's stories. And so you're like, oh my God, like, I did this, it's so embarrassing. I did this, it's so cringe. And I need to do an episode on embarrassment and my thoughts on that, because I don't think it exists. Unless you make it, of course. But anyways, yeah, it's like you center yourself so much in your life, you forget other people are the center of their own universes, and then like everything seems so consequential, but in a bad way. When really, babe, they're so worried about them, like they aren't worried about you. And also, I want to throw in this caveat in case like you are in a place where people have expectations around you. I don't want to take what I said a few seconds ago. I don't want you to take it the wrong way and think like, oh, well, if everyone expects this of me, I can't deviate. Because that is the opposite of what I believe. Like, I, as Abby, always switch it up. Like, I'm on my 50th life, like, do whatever, right? I'm just saying that, part of the positive aspect of being new at something is that there aren't any expectations. I'm not saying that if you have expectations, you're obligated to follow them. Because if I was obligated to follow every expectation in society, if everyone did that, life would not be a very fun place for most people. And frankly, it isn't for most people because a lot of people operate under that assumption. But yeah, again, just because there are expectations, I'm not saying you have to follow them. I'm just saying enjoy the fact that you don't have them if you don't. And if you do, that's a separate issue, but don't feel like I'm telling you to subscribe to that because you don't have to. And then going back to this idea around invisibility and visibility, right? I remember, I'll tell you this story, right, from high school, and then I'm going to sign off because I have other stuff to do. Because people tell me the episodes are short, and I'm like, okay, let me try and talk a bit more. So since I actually have more to say this episode, it's going to be longer. Yay! Is hopefully the response there. But anyways, I remember when I was in high school, and I moved to the high school where I finally graduated from. So I moved there in the 10th grade, and I remember up until this point, my parents had always been very strict. So even though I liked to dress up, I liked heels, I liked, wearing cute outfits and stuff like that, I basically had like zero opportunities to really enjoy my wardrobe because I didn't really have a social life. And so Like, yes, I could dress up for like church or like family friend things that like rarely happened. Like church obviously happened, but other than that, there was like not really guaranteed instances of me getting to enjoy my clothes. And so same thing. And when I would go to school, you know, they would usually have some level of a dress code, and I would stick very basically to that dress code. So I remember like in America, especially, like I was wearing, because overseas I had full on uniform, so it wasn't even an option. But then even in America, they would have dress codes and I would just adhere to them. So it would be like, I think for like an entire year at this new high school I went to, I was wearing like jeans and a hoodie, jeans and a hoodie, jeans and a hoodie. Like you would think someone was holding a gun to my head every time I got dressed in the morning, like zero creativity, even though I like to be creative with my outfits. And so I remember having this like breakthrough. I was like, girl, stop buying clothes that are meant for the weekend if you don't go out on the weekend. Like buy nice clothes that you like, that you can mix and match, that you can play with, that are appropriate for school, that fit the dress codes. I mean, appropriate is, I thought they were appropriate, and I fit the dress codes very, very accurately to how they were written. But of course, being a Black woman or a Black girl with boobs, and we're hypersexualized and whatever, people are always on my neck. And I had long legs and I was tall, so like any kind of dress, oh my God, it's too short, whatever. I have so many issues with dress codes. Let's not talk about that right now. But my point is, I was like, you know what? Next time I do my like yearly shopping things, I wasn't someone that like shopped casually. I would always just like budget and plan out the closet and everything. I'm going to plan out a closet that is very much used for school so that I can wear cute outfits to school. And so when I tell you the difference between how I was treated 10th grade and 11th grade, even though I did not change as a person whatsoever except dressing nicer, it was insane. And it was insane from so many different levels. And even like separate from like outfit changing, I remember like coming to this new school, and I was someone that like, I don't really share my grades with people or anything, but I remember coming to this new school, and because I had come from a different private school to a new private school, and in making that switch, a lot of other private school kids from 9th grade that I went to school with, they came with me and joined this new school in 10th grade, because there was this big exodus from my previous private school because it got new owners and they kind of ran it into the ground and blah, 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 blah. And so basically, I get to this new school in 10th grade, and the people that knew me from 9th grade, they knew ball. Like, they knew I was smart, right? But the people at the new school, they don't know that yet. So we would take our tests, we would do our assignments, whatever. I never talk about my grades. And I would help people with stuff. So I think there was like a vague understanding that I was smart, but it wasn't really coming up like aggressively. And I remember like we would have, unless like a teacher would point it out and stuff like that. Because I remember there was this, I was doing advanced pre-calculus or something in the 10th grade. And then like, and that was like I think maybe one of the hardest math classes I ever took. But she was a really cool teacher, and like, whatever, let me not get off topic. But I take this math class, and this teacher, she had this system called either the 100 Club or like the Owl Club or something. And basically, if you got 100 on your exam, she'd put you on the wall in the shape of like an owl or something. And I think by the end of the year, I was up there like 3 times, and that doesn't count. And her tests were like notoriously hard. Like I remember having to put in work, and I can make a different video about like studying and stuff, because I feel like most of the people watching this are not like young. I mean, you could still go back for master's degrees and stuff, but it's not like I'm talking to teenagers. So I'm not going to go into the details about like study habits and stuff. But obviously, as you continue to show up on this like wall, people are looking at you, because it's very rare to show up on the wall at all. So to show up on the wall more than everybody else, people are looking at you like, who is this person, right, as the year progresses. And then also towards the end of the year, I think it was starting to catch on to the guy who had been, because at the end of the year at this school as well, they give out I think they call it like a top scholar award or whatever. So if you're number 1 in the class for that year, you get an award, and then everyone will know, because they don't rank. And it's almost like valedictorian, but like not valedictorian in 12th grade. It's like for the full 4 years, it's like for that particular year or something like that. And the guy who was number 1 the year before, and I'll try not to be messy and give all the context around that, because I'll feel bad if it like gets back. But anyways, the guy that was number 1 the year before, I think he finally was starting to catch on that like, wait a minute, this girl might have like better grades than me, right? Because obviously I'm not publicizing them and nobody else knows them. So there's no way for anyone to really know, but like the hints are there. Okay, the hints were there. And so one day our art classes happened to overlap, because I don't have any classes with this kid. And he comes up to me and he's like, what's your GPA? And I was like, I'm sorry, like I don't share that. I'm sorry, like I don't tell people my GPA. And it's not a snooty thing either. I don't know how like that comes across, but the reason I didn't do it is because I know people can be very competitive about that kind of stuff. And like, I also don't ask other people that information. I just feel like, yeah, like school is hard. I feel like school is hard enough, especially for Americans that care so much about results. And I wasn't raised, you know, purely American. Like I was raised in Australia where like you had fun. So all of my like drive and like learning and whatever was all just from like interest. And so like, I didn't want to stress these people out more because I knew they were already so stressed about perfection and so stressed with like their parents comparing them to other kids and stuff. Like, what use does it give you to like tell you about my grades if it might potentially make people feel some type of way or like put us in some kind of secret, not so secret competition where I can tell that you are competing with me when it really literally does not matter. So I just like don't tell people that because I know it comes with all this politics and I don't want the headache, right? But anyways, this was maybe like literally a week or something before the school year ends. This kid asked me that. I'm like, oh, like I don't tell people that. And it was just so funny because I think it was starting to click for him like he had competition. And I was like, uh-oh, we're going to see how this goes, right? Because also when it came to grades, like I was such a perfectionist on myself, but it literally had nothing to do with like wanting to be better or worse than anybody else. Like if I was better, then cool. If I wasn't, then cool. As long as I was better than me yesterday, I was happy. And frankly, I did not even know that the Top Scholar Award even existed. So, you know, yeah, I didn't know about it until like pretty late into the year. But anyways, the year ends and I get the award and people were telling me the look on this guy's face and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay, whatever. But the people were really, really happy. So I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, it's very exciting, obviously. But it was interesting too, like the switch, you know, and how people viewed me the year where people didn't know about my academia and like what was going on there versus like now that I've won that award, now it's like, okay, you do want to keep up with this person or you are more curious around that or you just know what this person is like, if that makes sense. And then separately from that, I'll add into it the whole thing I was telling you earlier around dressing well and how I made the switch from 10th grade to 11th grade to dress well. Because even though obviously like the students didn't know what was going on with me until the end of the year, unless they were like my friends from the previous school, because these schools were really small. So like everyone knew pretty much everyone. And especially at the school I came from before, everybody knew everyone because my grade was literally like 29 people. But yeah, even though the kids didn't know what was going on, my teachers obviously knew because they're seeing my grades, they're grading everything. So there was a way my teachers even treated me 10th grade when all I wore was jeans and a hoodie, versus when I started dressing up and like, they would try to dress code me or say my clothes were inappropriate or this or that. And I'm like, why are you guys sexualizing young girls? Like, I'm wearing a t-shirt dress. It's not even body hugging. And the only reason it seems short on me is because I'm 5'9.5". This like same, like, and it would be so frustrating because really, really short girls would wear much shorter dresses, shorter shorts, whatever. Even the boys would wear shorter stuff than me. No one says a word to them, but I have long legs. So suddenly it's a crime that you can see any portion of my thighs. Like it was very frustrating. But I would notice like suddenly like the compliments I would get from people. Like I went from getting like, obviously like I went from not being very invisible to suddenly being very visible, where it was constantly this thing of like, oh my gosh, she's good at everything, you know, she's good at school and sports and art, and because they would display our art in the hallways and stuff when they were finished, and she's good at and she dresses well and blah 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 blah. And I would get a lot of that kind of feedback, and then from the students and then from the teachers, it was like I could tell that certain teachers who used to really, really like me liked me a lot less now that I wasn't dressing in a very like boring way. And that also made me, and like these were mostly like women teachers, and that also was really frustrating because it was like, why does your perception of me change just because of my clothes? Sorry, this is like a very big tangent and a lot of context, but the reason I'm telling you this is because it kind of displays the concept I was trying to explain before, right? When no one knows you, when no one knows what's going on, when no one knows you, and no one knows what's going on with you, they can't criticize it because they don't know, right? They can't have good opinions about it. They can't have bad opinions about it because, right, at that moment, it was none of their business. And so when in the 10th grade, when I didn't have much visibility because I didn't really stick out in the hallways except for being one of the very few Black people on this campus. Other than that, I didn't really stick out in the hallways. People didn't have a reason to like look out for me because they didn't know about my academics or my grades or anything like that. So my friends that already knew me from like excelling at a previous school might know about it, but it doesn't really affect anything, right? So like I could focus on my books, I could do whatever I want, and like there's no criticism, good or bad, related to that, right? But the second I became more visible in the 11th grade, either because my, grades have now been broadcasted to a certain extent in becoming like a top scholar, or, my ability in sports has now been broadcasted from, achievements there, or my ability in X, Y, and Z, because those things have now been broadcasted in public forums other than me, because I've received validation that's external that other people can also see, other than me just like receiving my test scores back and no one else knows, or, doing certain things and no one else knows. Now that I was visible, suddenly I was facing criticism. And while a lot of that criticism was good, not all of it was good. And think about the mental pressures too, because for me, I'm not someone that feels like I have to keep up with what those expectations are, and I'm really grateful for that, because as time has gone on in the years past, because now I'm grown or whatever, right? You have your ups and downs. And if you're someone that's always been a high achiever and everyone sees you as a high achiever, I know for a lot of high achievers, that's a ton of pressure, where it's like, oh my God, I can't fail, because it looks even worse than failing as a normal person, because everybody thinks that I'm this very successful person. And so they don't want to feel stupid and they don't want to be embarrassed, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, when I became visible, physically, and when I became visible for my successes, I didn't change at all from 10th grade to 11th grade, but people were always talking about me to my face or when I wasn't there. And while, yes, 99% of the time it was very positive and that was very nice, like it's a very different experience. And I think for a lot of people, it can then put this stress on you that like, oh my gosh, well, now that everyone sees me this way, if I don't dress up tomorrow and I look bummy, then, it'll be embarrassing because they're so used to me dressing nice. So then it'll be noticeable. So then it feels like, oh, I have to always dress nice. Or maybe you start to feel this pressure of, well, I was top scholar last year. If I don't become top scholar again, and maybe the guy who won 9th grade wins or someone else wins, then it'll look like I fell off and blah, blah, blah. Right. So suddenly, and I'm just giving you examples of what people's thought patterns can be like, not necessarily that they were mine at the time, but because now you're visible, even if it's a positive thing, even if it feels like a positive thing to finally get recognition for the things you've always done, it does come with the mental pressure of, I don't want to fall off, or I know this teacher is side-eyeing me, or this person's always dress coding me, so they definitely don't like me, or this or this or that. Or I could tell when teachers were just like actual haters. And then you can also tell when like your friends' parents don't like you, which has always, that was a big experience in America. It was like I would always have friends' parents who clearly did not like me, or my friends would come and tell me that their parents would compare them to me and would always be saying, oh, act more like Abby and this, like that, this, that, and the third. And so it's like, and then it was affecting my friendships. And so when I was not visible, I was literally the exact same person. I was literally just as smart, just as athletically talented, just as artistically talented, just as quote unquote, physically, I looked the same, right? Even though I was dressing my avatar differently. But when I became visible for those exact same things, and this also goes back to my dad saying, why do people name drop and why do people suddenly treat someone like they're so extra special when they've always been, a great person? You just didn't really care until other people noticed, right? All of a sudden, it went from I'm Abby to I'm Abby, but everyone else like knows and it now means something. But really, you're just the exact same person. And I say this all to encourage you, like you are fantastic right now as you are. Just because people aren't writing articles about you in Forbes, just because you're not being measured in some way, just because your peers don't necessarily know about it or talk about it or tell you about it constantly, doesn't mean that your life isn't wonderful. Doesn't mean that you aren't wonderful. And also, if you are pursuing something new, even if the end goal of that thing being quote unquote successful means that it reaches some level of visibility, it doesn't mean that the invisible portion isn't worthwhile. It doesn't mean that it's not quality, right? It's not that like musicians blow up because they finally make a good song. It's because they've been making good songs for a very long time. It's because they've always held the talent within them and they've been publishing it and they've been trying. And it's just at that moment that it's being discovered and appreciated by ears around the world, or ears around, wherever they are. It's not that they woke up overnight and they suddenly became good at what they do. They've always been good at what they do. Other people just notice it now. And so I just want to encourage you with this episode overall. You're not weathering a storm because nobody knows who you are. You're not weathering a storm because, you don't have a lot of followers, or you're not weathering. It doesn't have to be this horrible thing to be incognito. It doesn't have to be this horrible thing to be unknown. Just because you're not getting the external recognition doesn't mean you can't give it to yourself. And it doesn't mean that the you that's giving it to yourself, or the few people around you that are praising you, it doesn't make those compliments worth any less. And I'll even add to that too, like when it comes to social media, I remember when I first started out with TikTok, in general, but when I got onto TikTok, and at first when my TikTok started to pick up steam, I knew, not like I knew everything, but there would be repeat people in the comment sections, and I really felt like I had this budding community. And that was a very special experience to feel so, close to people online, right? Because the community was still smaller. But once it started getting really big, or not really big, I'd say, but relatively big, then there comes this pressure of, oh, how does she have this many followers and she has no views? Or, because it's getting, and to be fair, it's on me because I just stopped posting for 2 years. But even or 3 years really. But even separately from that, right? There comes a pressure with then having an audience. And people say this all the time, oh, people started posting in 2020 and then those certain creators fell off or whatever. There comes a perception. And even I'll post videos and maybe they get millions of views and then they have a lot of comments, and then some of the comments will literally be racist and colorist of people calling me ugly and saying that being black or dark skin is ugly. And those were not comments I was getting when I had, 50,000 followers or 20,000 followers or, no followers. No one was saying that stuff, right? But I was still making the same kinds of content. But when then I had, 100,000 followers, all of a sudden a video blows up and people are being racist in my comment section. So there are positives to being unknown. There are positives to still being incognito. And so if you're growing something privately, don't feel ashamed, don't feel embarrassed. Take it as an opportunity and enjoy the process. And I think my favorite analogy throughout this entire really, really, really long episode, so I hope this is enjoyable for people listening if you're still here, is that, again, you're making the painting. And while you're making that painting, the painting is your life. And if you wait for the painting to be done, if you wait for your life to be over, or you wait for the goal to be completed, because only once the achievement is finished, once the painting is complete and people can look at it, once your life is over and people can write about it or talk about it, if you wait for that moment to pat yourself on the back, to smile, to be excited, to be grateful, to be happy, if you wait for that moment to say, I'm finally visible, I'm finally ready to be shown, or people are finally giving me recognition, if you wait for that moment to be happy because you didn't enjoy the process, you wasted it. It's over. If you wait for the moment where you're visible enough to be criticized, both bad and good, to finally say, yes, I'm finally getting positive criticism. This is so wonderful. I'm finally getting positive external validation. This is so wonderful. Then it's yeah, you can enjoy that positivity, but it's definitely going to come with negativity, even if it's on a much, much smaller scale. And then it's the portion of the experience, which is making the art, is over, and it's over forever, and it's never coming back. I can never go back and make my paintings again. I can never go, even if I made them again, I would never make them the exact same way I made them the first time. I can never relive the process of making these pieces of art, the good, the bad, the ugly. I will never experience the exact same way again. So stop, fixating on the end result. Stop fixating on the end of the journey, because if you're so fixated on that, remember, when you get there, that's the end. It's over. It's over. It's enjoy your life now. I just feel sometimes when I make these episodes too, it's I'm trying to communicate the urgency to you guys, because you literally have no idea how long you have. And it's you cannot pause. You cannot hit pause on your life. You have to fight for it, and you have to fight to make every moment, a moment that you enjoy. And it doesn't mean every moment has to be thrilling. I just need you to understand that no matter what phase of life you're in, this is all you have, this present moment. You'll never have it this exact same way again. And You'll never be this age again. You'll never look the way you do again. Even if you wake up in the same house, same bed, same whatever, you'll be aging. You'll be a different person from the experiences you have before you come back to this bed. You will never have this moment again. So whether it's good, bad, ugly, like, try to at least take it in and absorb it. And don't project yourself into the future. Don't be so concerned with how people are viewing you because, you're not known yet. Don't be so worried about, oh, well, my mates have houses and my mates have this. Focus on what you have. Focus on what beautiful things come with not having it all. Not having it all. Because you have so much already. You literally have so much already. And it's like what they say, more money, more problems, right? There's going to be things that come up later too, and they're going to distract you from the exact things you prayed for so hard that you said, I'd be so happy if I had this. Well, you're going to have new problems then, because I can guarantee you right now, there was something you prayed for that was answered. There was something you wished you had that was answered. Maybe it's not a huge thing, but there was something that you didn't have before, you have now. And now that you have it, aren't there new things that you wish you had? Yes. And so because the desire doesn't stop, you need to learn to also be content and grateful with what you have now and finding what's good. And so I really encourage you, especially if you're a woman and you feel that embarrassing cringe side to trying new things, or anyone out there that's listening and you have that experience of, I'm stepping into the new and it's uncomfortable and, it's scary and I don't want to be judged and all of this. I really encourage you to take away from this episode all of the amazing things that you gain from the fact that you're still small, and use that to overcome those feelings of shame and negativity. Use that to really soak into the fact that this is your life and you want to take a big bite out of it, okay? And enjoy and savor every bite, because, the cake will be gone at the end of it. And when you finally get, the end goal, it'll be gone. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. I wonder, you can let me know if the longer episode is more satisfying or enjoyable. I'm always just going to say exactly as much as I have to say. I think if I had more time right now, because this is one of the few times I've made an episode during the day. If it was the nighttime, maybe I would have expanded even more on the tangents. But already this is like a 46-minute episode. So hopefully this was giving you guys a bit more to chew on. And I hope, the personal anecdotes were helpful, because I don't always sprinkle them in this level of detail. But, I am speaking from lived experience a lot of the times when I talk. And people will say, I've been called wise and things like that. And I think maybe it's helpful to know what comes behind some of the logic that I have, right? Because I definitely am not necessarily smarter than anyone else, right? I just have had certain experiences, and the combination of them lead me to certain conclusions. And that's why I want to share them with you all. And I would love to hear you guys' experiences too, and your conclusions too, and your thoughts, because you definitely expand my worldview as well. And this isn't an echo chamber. I really am loving this small community and getting the feedback from you guys. I know people will text me what they're feeling and stuff like that, because I know a lot of the people listening, I know them personally. But if we don't know each other personally, I really encourage you to introduce yourself in the comments or shoot me a message on any of my other social medias. It's always at Live Lumani, LIVELUMANI. In the description box, there's a link to see all of my links. So if you want to listen to this podcast on YouTube instead, or Spotify, if you're listening to this on YouTube right now, there are clips being posted on TikTok, Spotify, and YouTube pretty much daily or regularly. And then you can get a newsletter delivered straight to your email inbox every single week. So Live Lumani letters, and you can subscribe through the Substack link or through the link in, the links in this description box or whatever. But even if you don't have Substack, it'll still just go straight to your email inbox. And then if you do have Substack, you can see me post other things aside from Live Lumani letters. But anyways, that's a lot, blah, 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 blah. Welcome to Live Lumani. My name is Abby Amudo. As always, thank you so much for spending this time with me. If you enjoyed this episode or have been enjoying the podcast so far, I really encourage you to leave a rating and share it with a friend who you think would benefit from hearing from this, because if you are an introspective person or you just like to think, I'm sure you have friends that feel the same way, and maybe they'd enjoy the podcast as well. And we can slowly grow. But right now, we are a tiny little community, and I love that for us. So yeah, that's all for me today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys next time. Mwah.